I'm going to share my screen. This guy here. Present to everyone. All right, should be good to go. I throw on my glasses so I can see. And sorry I'm late, guys, but at least I can give you guys some time to plan for that. Let's jump into our homework. Let me let chatter know here. Okay, I'm live on YouTube now. So jump over here and I'm going to go all the way down to the bottom. This looks like a lot of homework got done, which is great. Never too late here. That's nice. Oh, this one looks good. I would say that this is too hot because it's what we call blowing out. Like if you were to add bloom on top of this in post, which we usually do, we'll usually go in and pull down the bloom threshold and add just a little bit of bloom, and this would go bloom, bloom. It would be too crazy, right? So we try to keep away from hitting these super white, where something hits so hard that it turns super white like this and gets broad. We try to give it as much shape as possible, meaning we want to get the rim, and then if it does bleed in, we want some information in between those, in between the edge and within the diffuse fall off of that light. So either tighten it up, which is probably what I would do. I'd pull the light around and get this tighter, and maybe push it out would lower the intensity, and then of course lower the intensity to try to get rid of that hot spot. I think this rim is successful. I like it. It's not hitting all the way around, which is okay. You got some overlapping shadows. I'm always going to say that in this character because he's got a lot of overlapping shadows. So yeah, the spear looks good. A little bit hot. I like that it doesn't go all the way down the sphere, but it might be good to go ahead and broaden it and maybe hit a couple of his fingers or something. Same with this. It might be okay to broaden this out and try to, get your hot area around it near his eye, and then have it fall off. This eye is dark, which is kind of strange. You would definitely want to try to do something about that. This one's fine. Your key is fine. The keys fall off is fine. You got some overlapping shadows here, which is not great. You would want to soften one of these. Probably this lighter one. It really doesn't matter. You'd want to soften something there. And then it gets a little dark in the shadow, and that might fix this if you just had some fill. And then this shadow on his hand looks really weird. It almost makes it look like he's wearing a glove. And that's probably coming from the key because that looks like that warm light. So it's probably like his head shadowing or something. Those are, these are the challenges of lighting. Sometimes you have to even break apart things like his hand and his sphere, and his spear, and light those separately. That happens. So yeah, and this is kind of a weird shape. You want to try to stay away from weird shapes and shadows. Cool. Let's look at this guy. Oh, I like it. I like the warm tones of it. You're kind of warm on this side and cool on this side, which is kind of neat. I'm not seeing overlapping shadows, which is impressive. He looks what we call a little flat, and then he's a little too front filled with light. Flat just means the intensity of his shade is the same across too broad of a plane. So when we should see a sphere, we should see like the light hits it, makes it bright, and then that light falls off, what we call diffuse fall off, into a core shadow, and then hopefully a bounce or a rim will hit it on the other side. I mean, this isn't bad at all. So yeah, I kind of like that his something's hitting a sphere, his spear. I keep calling this a sphere. His spear up here. It's not bad at all that it kind of hits here and creates a dapple of light, right? It's a little bit, it's too bright, obviously, but it's nice that there's something hitting here and it changes. And I wouldn't mind seeing a light. And again, you guys probably haven't gotten to this, but with a Cucaloris with some pattern in it to where you get this, and you can have a broad light and you get these speckles of shadow and bright and darks and stuff. But that'll be probably a different lesson. I don't know where you guys are at with that kind of stuff. I'm impressed that he really, I don't see any like overlapping shadows, which is good. Unfortunately, I think how you've positioned the lights to probably get rid of that. I see a little overlap right here, but that's totally okay. How you've positioned the lights is a little too front facing, and so I can't tell where his core shadow is. So this a key light looks like it's almost on camera, and it really needs to be pushed over to the right. So what you're hearing in the background is probably my kid. That's what she was sick today. That's why I'm late, and we've been to the doctor and whatnot. So she's feeling much better, obviously, as she's running around screaming. Well, yeah, this is pretty good. I think this is a more successful piece, other than the flatness of it. And it's not horrible, but it's enough. I would push that around, and you might even be able to get away with the flatness if you can see how this rim is kind of under his arm. If you focus more on rimming the outside of him, rather than, it looks like it's probably a light that's in the back and it's broad enough to be hitting in a couple places. But it's not super successful. You need to push that around and get it really to rim around him. And the other way to create shape is to layer lights on top of that key. So you got that key light that's hitting him kind of flat. If you put another warm light over here, like if you put another light here and then another rim, you could create with light the perception of shape just using light. But he would be awfully lit at that point. So I would think about just taking that key and pushing it over and see what happens. If not, yeah, you can start layering in lights. Not bad. I wouldn't mind seeing it with a ground plane, because I'd like to see how, because this rim comes all the way down to his feet. So the question would be, does that look weird when he's on the ground? Is this rim going to need motivation? By the way, that rim looks great on this leg. Like that's what it should look like up here. So yeah, if it doesn't fit on if he doesn't fit on the ground, then, or if he has like this giant shadow this way and giant shadow that way, that would be a big issue. Cool. Okay. Not bad at all. Well, this one's nice, but he's, again, so many overlapping shadows. The light position is correct. Like I like this rim when I'm just looking at the outsides. I like this rim. I like the fact that this rim's here in the core shadow. You can clearly see, but man, look at all this shape that you get all these crazy shapes, right? And that's for me, I would be trying to soften these lights, cranking up their size or softening the shadow, however it happens now, and see if that works. Because just having this and then the one inside, like, it's way too crazy. But like, if you ignore that, other than this guy right here, I don't know what that's from, but like his head is pretty good. Like this is pretty nice. You just have to work out those shadows, because that's too hard, that shadow right there, and it looks like it overlaps on something. I wonder if that's coming from like a spear or something. It's strange. It's probably not. It's probably just coming from his eyelid or something. It's hard to tell. You have to go in there and turn on and off lights to to catch it. And then where it doesn't work, of course, is down on his legs, but that's not nearly as important as, this part right here is what you would want to try to focus people on. And it's almost successful if it wasn't for this crazy, like, overlapping shadow craziness. So I wonder if that is a spear. Anyway, but it looks pretty good, man. I dig I mean, this is a thicker rim, but it's it's not a bad thing. This is the one of those that feels like it's light layered, where it's like this light's hitting in this light, and there looks to be a light here, and there looks to be another rim. So you're looking at what, 1, 2, 3, 4 lights, I guess, layered across it. I'm guessing, and it actually works pretty well. The problem is, of course, when you use a bunch of lights, you get a whole bunch of shadows. So you got to figure out how to deal with that. And again, the way I would deal with it would be soften the shadows, which would be increasing the lights. If it's not an area light, then make it an area light, and then just make it larger. And the larger it is, the more that will go away. But then you're going to change how it looks. Yeah, you're going to have to play with it. If you had gotten up tight, like right, oops, I can't make a square, kind of right like here, and avoided all this stuff, then you just have to fix this and you'd be done. But yeah, that's pretty bad. And down his leg, but pretty darn, like, it's the right lighting. It's just gonna take a little more work. Cool. Yeah. This looks, I mean, this is too hot, and it looks like it's a point light that's getting too close. Like, I'm seeing a light here, but not seeing a light here. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know what would motivate that. Would he be standing next to a torch or something? I'm not sure how you would do that. But regardless, this is too bright and broad, so that would be a flat area, what we call that. So if you push that light out and maybe hit all this and maybe get this hot to go all the way across him, and not nearly that hot, of course, and that would be his key. And you can do a warm rim if you want to. But I think you guys are kind of focusing on this cool rim here. This is a little strange because it misses his face. This is really what you want most of the time when you're lighting for film. You want the audience to look at the face. So that should be your, for you, you've got kind of a successful body. This arm looks okay in this body, but your face is kind of dark, and then it's got this hot spot, and these shadows are too dark and can't read the eyes or anything. So you would want to focus this kind of quality up into here. So broaden this, get it softer and not so intense, and then get your rim to really work around this head. And if you're getting dark stuff like this, go ahead and put a fill light. Take a fill light and fill this stuff in, a nice broad one to fill all this dark area in. This is a really successful rim, right? It's a little too hot, but it really pulls the shape out of this sphere, at least this top part, right? And if you're going to separate lights like this, you got to make sure that you put another light up here on your sphere to make it fit in the scene. It's actually so dark on this side that I can't see, pixel color wise. I can't see a difference between the sphere and the pure black on my screen. He's got a little bit of a shadow right here and an overlap here. So maybe trying to soften some shadow would be good. Even the key could use a little bit of softness right here. Yeah, not terrible by any means. Just needs a little bit of work. Cool. And his feet are really bright. So, like, I don't know is that this light? So yeah, you generally want to kind of try to fall things off, and try not to get people to look at the feet so much, just because you're trying to get people to look here. For me, it's like brightest spot is what I look at first, and the second thing I look at in this image is his feet. So try to have some kind of flow to it, but that's not, you know, part of it. I would say have a flow as in go through maybe this arm or something, but definitely going through his face and then maybe through his spear, and kind of have some kind of line of action that way. Lights. Oh, this looks nice. Again, lighting setup wise, it's correct. Like it's set up correctly. It just gives these weird shadows that you definitely wouldn't want that shadow on his face. And then these overlapping, like the spear and then this thing, because this is coming from this rim. I wonder if you couldn't, I don't know if you have the ability to do this, but this rim light in Unreal or some engines where you really can control the lights, you could make this fall off to 0 by the time like it gets down here, and it would really soften all this and then make this real hard. I don't know if that's the answer, because this looks pretty good as far as a broad rim. It works well. But like you got this weird shadow right here, this weird shadow, this definitely no good, right? This no good. And you're going to have to solve the problem of softening those shadows. Lighting wise, like if it wasn't for the shadows, lighting wise, this looks pretty good. I mean, the color's good. The angle I like. I like these broad rims, even though it depends on your art director, but sometimes they'll tell you, no, we're cutting them out. So that means you got to push it back and get it really tight. It just depends on the look you're going for. I like this. I like kind of because it has this sculpted look, so you can still get the shapes in here. Now it does get a little hot here and here also. See how it gets this hot, and this is going to bloom out just like I was saying before. These areas are going to really bloom out. So if you're not going to push it back and hit it tighter, then you need to pull down the intensity of that light. But more egregious, I think, are these shadows, which you'd have to figure out. It doesn't, because there's not as many overlapping, it doesn't bother me as much as the other one did, but it's still pretty bad. Like no one's going to let this shadow that goes from his pee-pee all the way up through his stomach, like no one's going to let that fly, right? So you'd have to figure out how to soften that. Same with all this. It just makes some weird shapes, but it's good. It's well lit. Like there's nothing wrong with it. You can kind of see these the polygons in here, which is not great, but that's a smoothing error. Not really your fault. As a lighter, you're going to have to fix all that, by the way. You might not think you will, because you're like, oh, send it back to, yeah, it's like, no, there's no time for that. You just have to go in there and fix it. Cool. I like it. Yep, not bad. As it really works as a thumbnail also. I can really read this well. This one too. Is that new? Am I crazy? Or did I look at this? I feel like I'm losing my mind. No, I looked at this, right? Yeah, I looked at this because he looks like he's wearing the glove. Yeah. Yeah, I think these two, and that's one of those things where you squint your eyes and see what something looks like. I can really read these. And if you guys do it the same thing, just kind of squint your eyes. You can see the shapes in these guys a little bit better than the others, and part of it's because they're using color contrast of these warms and cools. Cool. This guy looks like he just has one light though. One light that's coming up here, kind of hitting hot up in here, and then falling off through. You can push the distance of these lights if you want to get a more an equal intensity across it, because what happens is it's a spotlight, right, and it's hitting here and then falling off over here to 0. So it's not linear, right? It's a inverse square, so it's really bright up to the source, and then it falls off really fast. And you can change those. You should be able to change those to like linear, where it just it's going to be at full intensity here, and then it just linear falls off to 0. I do that quite often, actually, because it's hard to control some of those inverse square lights. The great thing about this, of course, being a single light, is there's no overlapping shadows, and there's no weird shadows, right? It's not catching this eye socket and doing something weird. It's just simply lighting it. So the placement of this as a key light is very good. You only have this one little shadow that creates a weird shape, and that is weird. And somebody would make you, believe it or not, in a feature film, somebody would say that's no good. And how you would fix that is you would render it once with a shadow, render it once without a shadow, and you would rotoscope as he's animating. You would rotoscope that arm out of every frame. And it's not as hard as it sounds. It's it's a moving roto that you just work with. So the roto, inside the roto, would be the one without shadows, of course. But that would work. I would like to see this with a rim on this side like the other ones. And I guess there is one. I kind of see something here, don't I? It's just not very bright. Yeah, there is something there. So it's so subtle that it's not creating. Yeah, there's definitely something there, because otherwise this would fall to black, right? So it almost looks like a bounce card. It's so subtle. Matter of fact, you know what? I'd probably keep that light. I'd keep that sucker in there and then make a second rim light that's just hitting around the rim that's super bright, and just cuts him out. And that would, in this guy, instead of this being a rim, this would be your fill light. And try to maybe get that into here, because these shadows get really dark. Cool. This is actually pretty good. I think you should just add a tight rim, and maybe even a tight warm rim on the other side. And this is where these guys are getting that funky shadow. But if you do that up rim like they're doing, that would be pretty nice. The only thing is you'll have to figure out how to fix those shadows. You'll be in the same spot as those guys are, basically. But it looks nice. This gets hot, too hot. So yeah, I would probably, you could take the same light, same angle, and just say you're going to be inverse. I mean, not inverse, but linear. And you probably could push him over a little bit to get the key to get more of a core shadow, because I don't, you see enough shape in here, but it's getting a little cloudy. See how it does here, where the diffuse termination is right there, and it kind of makes that hard line, that hard shadow. That is your core shadow. It's just really tight. So you might want to loosen that up by pushing the light over to the right. Otherwise, it looks pretty good. His feet are bright, kind of like the other ones. You might want to fall off a little bit more, or push it up, rotate it up to where his feet start to go a little bit dark, a little bit less noticeable. It's not bad though. I can definitely see that this is not as bright as this. So yeah, kind of cool. Cool. My final attempt. I thought it's my first final attempt. It sounds like me. My how I name my finals. Final one. Final for real. Oh, it's the story of the first rays of sunlight. See, I should know this stuff. Somebody should tell me. So it's the first rays of sunlight beginning to light him up. Or is that what everybody's trying to do? Is that just what you're trying to do? That's good to know, though. I mean, those kind of things they're helpful when you're lighting, because you're kind of, and you get to look at reference. I hope you guys are looking at reference, because that's probably the biggest thing for a lighter, for any of this art form. Even if you're a modeler, you got to really check out reference a lot. So I would say this is pretty successful at that. I would make this broader. Again, you're gonna have to work out them shadows, because as you broaden this out, it's gonna cast all these shadows, because I can already see that one. But if this, came down and almost hit his hand and kind of his belly and stuff, and you kept this dark, yeah, your rim is really successful. It really captures the shape here. This is like a cutout rim, so you can see that muscle and pretty nice, and see how that without that crazy shadow, his arm looks like the proper size and everything. This is pretty good. I would just say broaden this key, unless it's going to get animated to like slowly open up, onto him. But I would say this would be the very beginning of that, and then it would open up to about, low abdomen. Not bad. I really like that rim. Of course, it's gonna bloom when you put a little post on it, but you could work with that. Like, you could pull it down a little bit. That's why it's so nice to have. When I worked in Arnold, it was at Sony ImageWorks, and it was Arnold, and it was tied into Katana, which was tied into Nuke. So it was all, when I rendered, it went through the entire pipe, and what I saw was in Nuke, I would actually say render, and it would actually show me the Nuke final with all the post-processing and everything, which was really cool. And that was part of Katana. Katana was really powerful, is really powerful. That's what they used to do the new Spider-Man that they just won an Academy Award for. All my buddies, by the way, like, what was it, 3 years ago, my old art director, Rob Ruppel, from Disney, pulls me aside at Creative Talent Network and says, "Hey, I'm working at this cool project at Sony ImageWorks. You should come light with me, or light on it." And I was like, "Oh, no, I live in North Carolina now. I can't." And then there's all my buddies going, "Here's my Academy Award," or I'm holding the Academy Award now for Spider-Man. It's fun. But no, I'm not jealous at all. No, not at all. But yeah, this is good. I like it. Version 2, more light. More light. You got that shadow. Everybody's got to have that shadow. You got to get rid of that thing. He's well lit, but you need some more shape, or you need some defining stuff, which is this rim. I think this is probably in the right spot, and it's hitting him just right. It just needs to be brighter. Kind of see how bright this guy is. I probably would go a couple stops less than that, but be thinking of that kind of contrast. And the same for your key. I'm not sure if your key is. It looks like this is shadowing as a shadow of your fill, which is coming from this way. And then I'm guessing you have a key. Otherwise, you're missing a light, which is you should have a very warm key light here. And you might already have it. It's just not intense enough to grab me. So it's not bad. This rim looks like it's right in the right place. It just needs to be turned up. And then, if I don't know, without being able to see, I don't know if I realize there is definitely a fill that's an upfill right here. But if you're missing something, you're missing your main like key light. It feels like this is like an ambient. So I would take that and bring it down probably 50%, and then add another light that's your main key that really gives you all the shadows and stuff. And man, I'm gonna have to like get into Arnold or something and just and show you guys how to soften these shadows. They're not you don't want this like that, or like that, or like that, or the overlap. And once you start softening those, you guys will solve 80% of your problems. Because yeah, he's right. He just needs to have some contrast in the lighting. So there needs to be brighter and darker. Keep that core shadow, but get you a nice key in here, and you're going to be fighting a bunch of shadows like everybody else. But that's okay. That's that's part of learning this. This is really cool. I like this rim is really successful. This little cutout rim. You might want to move it over just a tad. See how it's barely hitting these muscles. It'd be nice to see it come through a little bit and shape this arm, and maybe even be able to shape this just a tiny bit. But I like that. I like that rim a lot. And then looks like you got an uplight, this warm uplight, and then you got your key light is this very cool bright light. Not bad. I like it. Lots of overlapping shadows, or lots of strange shadows. Unfortunately, same as all of them. Not bad though. I think the key might be a little too broad, too front facing. So you might want to push it over to camera right a bit. See how flat this almost looks tune shaded right here, this area, because this tight rim suddenly hits really broad. And the way to fix that is to make that thing fall off, have this light fall off as it in its distance. Now, yeah, you're going to lose some of this and stuff, but that might be a good thing. It gets a little too broad there too. So have it hit nice and hard here and then fall off really quickly to where this is not so bright. And then push that key over camera right and see what you get. You got a really dark shadow here and here and here. Yeah. Yeah. Keep working on it. It's not bad. Not bad at all. Oh, this is nice. The rim, really successful. Again, that's super hot. I wonder if that's the rim. Oh, I bet it is. I bet that's the rim hitting it, and it's a weird angle. But I'm not sure. I don't know. It's the color of this. Huh. Yeah, it's the color of the key. Key looks a little broad also, but you know, your core shadow gets, the broader that key, of course, the tighter your core shadow is going to be. And then in his chest, like you lose that shape in his chest. So you might want to push that over. You want to fill in these dark shads. Yeah, not bad. It's good looking. Those rims really do cut them out, cut them away from, especially this black. So I like how it kind of comes down here, like you get this little overlap of shapes. That's kind of what I was talking about in this other one. Was it this one? Yeah, to get a little bit broader and kind of get those overlaps in shape. What else? It gets a little bright here and here and here and here. So whatever light, this is probably all the same light. So I would find that and move it around a little bit. And it could be that it's the main key. It's hard to say. It looks like it, but see how this intensity is the same as like this intensity. This whole thing right here is all, that's what we call flat. It's all the same. You can't see that it's, I mean, I can tell because my brain can fill in the, fill in the gaps, but you kind of want to be able to not have to do that. And it's strange that it has like this little light here and this with this. I don't know if that's in the model. It might be, yeah, like muscles. But because of this being broad, this light makes it look kind of strange. Not bad. Yeah, I'd push that over, get you a thicker core shadow, try to get some shape in this chest and in this area. Because see, that's your core. It's just looking kind of weird. Yeah. It's not bad, guys. Not bad at all. Not bad at all. Anything new? It was just me. Cool. I think that's it. This was last stuff. Yeah, coming along. These are better. I like it. Just looking at the thumbs, it's fun to look at the thumbnails because you can really see what what's successful, like shape wise. You can really read. I think probably this one right here is probably the most successful right now, Magnum, just because it's the most readable. So do that to your own work, like squint your eyes and be like, which one can you see the best? This one's pretty good. This one's not bad, but his core shadow is like right down the center of his face. It makes it kind of symmetrical and a little hard to read. This guy's, you can kind of, once you start squinting your eyes, you can kind of see what I'm saying. Like, try to be able to read the whole thing. All right. Somebody got a last minute in. I'll end with you. Oh, this is nice. I'm kind of drawn out the door a bit, but I do like this this rim on this side. That's pretty nice. That gets a little hot. Just that it looks like makes it look like this is really shiny, which I think it is. Actually, I made that. This looks pretty good, man. Yeah, I like the contrast of the warm interiors versus the blue. I do think this is too bright, or maybe too saturated. Probably a little bit of both. Really, yeah, this came out really great. Now you can really read this. I like the rim on these hats. This is great. I think I would just bring this down maybe 20% or so. The windows kind of look funny. You might want to work on that material. I like how this is kind of being cut out of the window, and this is really successful on the warm. I think this blue is it goes. This blue is going too warm, is what it is. It's a purple, and I think if you push this back to being the contrast or the like, I don't know. There's something that's too warm about this blue next to this warm. I think this should move toward green. Not and when I say green, I mean on the hue range. Don't make this blue green. Make it blue and not blue purple. And I think you'll see a better color composition at that point. See how this is this is warm. It kind of works, but it's a little more in the blue range than this is, whereas this is more purple. You desaturated the outside. I think that was probably a good move, but it looks weird here. Like, I don't know, there's something strange about this. Like, this window wouldn't put out this color light. I don't know. I know you're kind of playing with these materials. This is pretty good though, man. It's pretty successful. Yeah, so the light's coming in through the door. See how I think this is probably messing with my eyes too. So the light is coming through an open door, which should be the brightest that light is. But when it comes through the bottle window, it's brighter here than it is here. So that's something to think about. Like, tone all this down. Keep your fill. Tone the intensity and the color, that blue. Just push it back to blue, this purple. And this is nice. You might even could rim the doorway a little bit, and maybe bring that rim through and try to hit something. It's kind of hard. It already does hit this because it's got to be here. Could be a little bit brighter here and fall off. I don't know. This stuff looks great. Like, all this warmth, this warm area looks good. This feels like it's blooming in the wrong spot though. It's like blooming on the wax rather than the candle itself. It's awesome that that's like reflecting in there. It's kind of cool. That material is weird. It looks like a little, it's going into that weird ball. You'll probably have to play with that. See, this looks great. It really cuts out this as a darker piece on top of a light on top of dark. So you really feel like This is in the foreground. This is great. Yeah, I would just work on this this part here, and then this purple. All this purple should be more blue, and then think about that material, and there's something about the saturation of this that's bugging me. I don't know what it is. Probably nothing. I don't know. I think once this is fixed, that'll my eye won't be so weirded out by that. But yeah, pretty good, man. Pretty good. I like it. I think it probably could use a center of interest. You might even want to move this candle like down here or something and make the warmth through this book. I don't know. There's something compositionally that's a little bit missing in here. Like where does it flow? But as an image, it works pretty good, man. Not bad. All right. Guys have anything else? Nothing. There's some chatter. Oh, everything's working good. Glad about that. I think I've got the whole streaming thing down now. But yeah, everything's looking good. I think that's probably it for me to look at. It's what, 4:20? Yeah, it's about an hour, right? So we'll stop here, and I will see you guys and look at your work next time. Okay, talk to you later.